Hi, I'm here with Dr. Monique Robinson, and today we're going to chat about how to speak to kids about coronavirus. Monique, what are you hearing about how kids are reacting to the current coronavirus pandemic?
Look, I think kids are fairly resilient, and even small children are aware that something's happening, and that's good because we actually want them to change their behaviour. We want them to increase their hand washing. We need them to know about germs and bugs and what this is in order to stop it spreading through the community. But I think it's up to parents now to make sure that kids don't get overwhelmed by this information or frightened about it.
And are kids getting scared?
I think it's a pretty scary thing for adults as well at the moment because it keeps evolving, it keeps developing. There's a lot of uncertainty. But what's important when the world is feeling a little bit out of control is that we try and bring certainty and control back for children. So one of the things we might be doing is asking them what they understand about coronavirus. Have they heard about it? Ask open-ended questions where you can say, what do you think about coronavirus? How is it changing things in schools, or how is it changing things in your world, to understand where they're at and assess the level of fear that may or may not be there.
And how do you determine that? What are the warning signs if a child is getting too scared or anxious about coronavirus?
We know that for children who are particularly anxious or perhaps naturally quite germophobic, it's something that could push them that little bit further towards panic and fear. So what we're looking at in terms of anxiety symptoms in children, when we're thinking that maybe those fears are going a little bit too far, we might be looking at changes in appetite, so losing their appetite, perhaps eating more than usual, going for comfort foods, changes in their sleep patterns, so difficulty getting to sleep or staying asleep, or even the opposite where they're just very fatigued and very tired all the time. If they're starting to present with excessive worries to you, starting to get worried in a more general sense about other things in life and not just germs and coronavirus. Also, we might look at their difficulty concentrating, if they're irritable, a bit more grumpy than usual, if they want to withdraw socially. And now, of course, at the moment with social distancing, that's going to be natural. But if they stop showing an interest in the things that they used to be interested in, that's when we might start to think maybe this is affecting them more than we necessarily thought.
Okay, so let's go back to having that discussion about coronavirus. What should you as a parent do? You've talked about asking them the questions, but how much information should you be providing them?
It's a really good question because I think at the moment we need to keep them calm and keep the vibe positive. There's a lot of really important concerns here. This is threatening our health, our loved ones, for a lot of people, their income and financial security, and they're very, very big problems, but they're not problems that children themselves can solve. So it's important to keep adult conversations amongst adults so that children don't get given a problem that they feel helpless with. We know that helplessness is one of those factors that really can lead to anxiety and depression in children. So we want to make sure that the information presented to children about coronavirus is honest but age appropriate, but it's presented in a positive manner, that they should know that there are the world's best scientists working on this, that we're all pulling together as a community, that there are rules that our government and our doctors have given us to follow, so that we bring that sense of certainty and control back to children.
And what if the child says, oh, but Johnny's wearing a face mask or Lisa's being kept home by her parents? How should you respond to that?
Again, I think everyone needs to make the decisions that they feel comfortable about in their family. And it may be that some children who are immunocompromised or perhaps have asthma and allergies may be kept home at the moment, and other children whose parents just decide that they want to. And I think it's a matter of saying that's a decision that each family is making. As a family, if your child is still going to school, that you can say that's the advice that we're following. We're following the official channels. It's important to have trust in those official channels of information that are coming through. I think at the moment that's important, that there are regulations that we follow, and as a community we all play our role in sort of abiding by that.
And I'm imagining that a lot of the parents are going to be pretty stressed themselves. So is that something that can rub off on the kids, that the kids can detect?
It is, and I think children are very good at assessing changes in the general vibe in the house, even if those conversations are kept away from children. So again, it's about checking in with your children. These are very different times for all of us. They're quite strange times. So being together as a family and promoting the values that we really want to promote in our children, like caring for others, caring for the most vulnerable people in our society. We're generous, we're thoughtful. All of those sorts of things are ways to show children that there are positive actions that they can take in order to help address this big problem.
Let's say you're in home quarantine or home isolation and you've got a young child who you're trying to teach hand hygiene, or maybe they have to wear a face mask because they're unwell, things that maybe don't come naturally to them. How do you talk to them about those sorts of behaviours?
Well, I think it's empowering. You know, it's something that you can say to your children, this is what you can do. This is a huge, huge issue. But within that big issue, there's things that you yourself can do to help stop the spread. So you can do the hand washing. We've talked about the 20 seconds of washing your hands. So singing happy birthday twice, or singing another song that you can find that's specific to your child they might enjoy. All the things that they can do in terms of sneezing and eating healthily to get their immunity, talking about those healthy behaviours that we've got in our life. You can relax the rules around the house as well, I think, and that's something that children do really notice. So you might say, do you know what, while we're self-isolating at home, you can stay in your pyjamas all day. And perhaps at the end of all this, they'll just remember that time that they got to stay in their pyjamas all day. So I think, again, there are ways that within a family we can make this a positive experience, as positive as possible. It's obviously a very, very serious issue, but within the family, there are ways that we can certainly try and lessen the burden for our children.
Okay, so just one last one. You talked about some of the warning signs that maybe your child is getting a bit too anxious. If you're worried about that, if you detect some of those signs, what should you do about it?
The first step is to go to your family GP, and they'll be able to refer you to further services or to talk it through. Social support's also very good. I think obviously in times like this we need to be cautious with our use of social media, because as much as it does bring that feeling of community together and a sharing of information, it can also share misinformation and cause a bit of panic. But I think generally we are all in this together, so sharing these sorts of feelings. But if a parent is concerned that their child is exhibiting some unusual behaviour, excess fears of contamination that might be abnormal, then the GP is their best step.
Monique, thank you. Obviously, these are uncharted territories and we haven't had pandemics like this before, and communicating with your kids is really important. So the messages are about being honest with them but age appropriate, remaining calm, and trying to give them that sense of confidence as well. Hopefully that was helpful. We'll come back with more information soon.